Baby, something happened last night that I can't undo, and it's my fault. I should have locked the phone. I should have never left it face up with that chat window still open. But I didn't. I was too caught up rereading your words, those private, sacred messages we've sent each other at 2 a.m. The ones where we bled honesty, the ones no one else was ever meant to see. And now he knows. My brother, he picked it up, and before I even realized it, he had read everything. He didn't say a word at first. He just stared at me like he didn't recognize the man sitting across from him. And then he asked the one question I wasn't ready to answer. Is this who you really are when we're not looking? Baby, the moment those words left his mouth, I knew this wasn't going to stay between us anymore. Within an hour, the whole family knew. My mother looked at me with tears in her eyes, not because she was angry, but because she realized just how far I'd fallen for you without ever saying a word out loud. My father, he didn't even speak. He just left the room. My cousin stared at me like I had betrayed something ancient. They weren't just shocked by what we said to each other in those chats. They were shaken by how deeply I loved you. They read the way I called you my home, the way I confessed I wanted forever with you, the way I said I'd give it all up just to have one night where you weren't scared to hold my hand in public. They saw the parts of me I only ever showed you. The softness, the longing, the sacred words I whispered to your soul in the dark. They saw it all, and now I can't take it back. I feel exposed, baby, like someone ripped my chest open and left my heart beating in the middle of the living room. They know how I ache for you. They know I've been hiding the sacred bond behind cold silences and fake smiles. They know I still read our old messages like scripture. They know I kept screenshots of things you probably don't even remember saying. They know I'm still yours even when I pretend I've moved on. And worst of all, they know I never stopped loving you. And I know what you're thinking right now. I know you're wondering if I'm going to run, if I'll deny it, if I'll let them tear this story apart the way families often do when they don't understand a love like ours. But baby, I need you to hear this from me, loud and clear. I'm not hiding anymore. I won't erase your name from my mouth just to keep their comfort intact. I won't pretend you were just a phase. You were the moment that made me question everything I thought I knew about love. And now that the truth is out, I'd rather burn in their disappointment than live another day in silence. They read the way I told you I still dream of your voice. They saw the messages where I begged the universe to bring you back, even when I knew I had no right to ask. They saw how I called you my light, my miracle, my undone prayer. And baby, they didn't just see words. They saw my soul printed in every syllable. My brother didn't speak much after that. He just looked at me like I was some stranger sitting in the shell of the man he grew up with. He said, I didn't know you could love like this. And I didn't have the courage to respond, because even I didn't know I had it in me. Until you. You unlocked a part of me I buried beneath years of being the strong one, the logical one, the obedient son. But in your presence, baby, I was finally human, raw, soft, real. And now the whole family knows. They know that when I said goodnight at the dinner table, I was texting you, come back to me, seconds later. They know that every holiday I missed, wasn't just distance, it was heartbreak. They know you were the reason I stopped sleeping properly. They saw the part where I told you I would have left everything behind. My name, my home, my pride. If you had just said the word. They saw the part where I confessed that I never stopped believing in you, even when it looked like we were over. Baby, they saw the version of me I kept sacred for you. And it broke them. But I think it healed something in me. Because for the first time in years, I'm not pretending anymore. I'm not walking around wearing the mask of the man who forgot you. I'm standing here in the ashes of my secret, finally breathing like a man who has nothing left to hide. And do you know what that feels like? It feels like freedom, but it also feels like grief. Grief for the years I spent in silence. For the times I wanted to tell the world that the most beautiful part of my life had your name written all over it. But I didn't. I was scared. I was a coward. And now, in one moment, the thing I feared most has already happened. And I'm still here. And baby, here's what shocks me most. It wasn't the betrayal of privacy that hurt. It was the realization that maybe the universe had to force the truth out of me because I never would have done it myself. Maybe it wasn't an accident that my brother read our chat. Maybe heaven was tired of me pretending. Tired of me calling it just a memory when my heart still races every time your name lights up my phone. Tired of me lying to myself just to keep peace in a home that never saw the fire burning inside me. Maybe this was the divine push I needed to stop hiding you from the people who claim to know me. And now that it's all out in the open, I can finally say this without shame. I love you. I've loved you in silence. I've loved you in distance. I've loved you in sin and in prayer. And I still love you now. Louder than ever. And if that makes them uncomfortable, so be it. Because what we had was not a secret, it was sacred. And sacred things deserve to be honored, not hidden. I keep thinking about the look on my mother's face, baby. That trembling silence in her eyes. It wasn't just surprise, it was sorrow. Like she just stumbled into a chapter of my life she never knew existed. And the truth is, she didn't. No one did. Because I kept you tucked away in a part of my soul I never gave anyone access to. A part only you could reach. I never told them how your words were the only ones that could calm my storms. I never told them how many times I fell asleep reading our old chats, pretending you were still with me. I never told them how you saved me from myself, from the void, from the coldness I had learned to wear like armor. They thought they knew me, but baby, the real me has always lived in the space between your I miss you and my come home. And when they saw those words on my screen, uncensored, unfiltered, it was like they met me for the first time, and they didn't know what to do with him. I don't know what hurts more, that they finally saw the truth, or that I was forced to let them. I didn't want it to happen like this. I wanted to sit with my mother one day and say, she's the one I've loved all along. I wanted to tell my father that you taught me more about strength than any life lesson he tried to pass down. I wanted to look my brother in the eye and say, yes, I loved her, and I still do, but I never got that chance. Because now they've read it. They saw how I called you my lifeline, how I begged you not to give up on us, how I said I'd choose you even if it cost me everything. Those weren't things I ever planned to say out loud, But now it's out there, raw, unedited. And baby, strangely, I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed that they know you held my heart in your hands, that they know I was never over you, that even now, after everything, I still believe in what we had. Maybe it's not the end of us. Maybe this is just the beginning of me, finally fighting out loud. Because when my brother asked me, "So what now?" I didn't flinch. I didn't lie. I looked him in the eye and said, "Now I stop hiding." And baby, I meant it. No more pretending. No more denying what was written across every beat of my chest since the day I met you. I told him that you weren't just a fling. You weren't just a story I locked away because it was inconvenient. You were the woman who made me believe in soulmates. The one who saw the broken pieces of me and loved me anyway. The one I was too afraid to fight for, but never stopped loving. And now they know. They know what I feel for you isn't confusion. It isn't weakness. It's truth. And whether they accept it or not, I do. I accept that my heart has always been yours. And now that the secret's out, maybe you'll finally feel how serious I am, how ready I am, how deeply I still want you. Not as a ghost, not as a regret, but as a reality I finally have the courage to claim. They kept asking me the same question over and over again. Why didn't you tell us? And baby, I wanted to scream. I wanted to say, because you wouldn't have understood. Because how do you explain to people who've only known you in fragments that someone out there has held the whole of you? How do you tell them that your eyes weren't just beautiful, they were home? That your voice wasn't just comforting, it was survival? That your messages weren't just flirtation, they were the only light in the dark room I used to live in? Baby, I didn't tell them because I couldn't reduce you to a few sentences. Because what we had was never casual, it was spiritual. It was that kind of rare bond that makes time bend and space disappear. You weren't someone I dated. You were someone I spiritually collided with. And maybe that's why it scared me so much. Because it was bigger than what my family could ever wrap their minds around. And now that they've seen it, they're just beginning to realize that I was never truly myself around them. Because the only place I ever felt whole was with you. And baby, the craziest part, they didn't get angry. Not really. It wasn't rage I saw in their eyes. It was realization. It was this slow unraveling of the version of me they thought they knew. My brother looked at me like, "You've been carrying this love all alone?" And my mother, God, her hands trembled as she held the phone, scrolling through messages where I told you things I never even told her. Things like how I used to count the hours until you'd reply. How I prayed over your name some nights, asking God to keep you safe when I didn't know where you were. How I wrote you a letter I never sent, the night I thought I lost you for good. She read those things, and maybe for the first time, she saw that her son doesn't just feel, he bleeds love. And that bleeding, it was always for you. So what happens now, baby? I don't know. I really don't. Maybe they'll talk. Maybe there'll be whispers, judgments, questions. But for the first time in this entire story, I don't care. Because you're no longer my secret. You're no longer locked in a chat thread or a silent memory I revisit in the middle of the night. You've been seen. And while that terrifies me, it also liberates me. Because now there's nothing left to protect but you. And I promise I will. I'll protect your name when they twist it. I'll protect our love when they call it reckless. I'll protect the truth when they try to rewrite it into something smaller than what it really is. Because what we had was never small. It was life-changing. And I'd rather be misunderstood for loving you than be accepted for denying you. I'm done pretending, done playing safe. You deserve to be loved out loud. And I'm finally ready to do that. With every breath I have. Baby. When the room finally emptied, when the last door closed and I was left alone in that silence, it hit me like a wave crashing against a shore that's held its ground for too long. I sat there in the dark, phone still glowing with our chat, and I broke. Not just a tear, not just a sigh, but I broke. I cried in a way I haven't cried in years. The kind of cry that comes when a man's truth has been stripped bare and the only thing left standing is the ghost of what he lost. It wasn't the exposure that wrecked me. It was the realization that I had waited too long. That I should have fought sooner. That I should have never let the fear of judgment silence the love of my life. Baby, if you had seen me then, knees pulled to my chest, head buried in trembling hands, whispering your name over and over again like it was the only prayer I still remembered, you would have known that no man could fake that kind of pain, that no one cries like that for something they didn't believe in, with every fiber of their soul. I kept scrolling up, back to the first messages, the high that changed everything, the slow build of trust, the gentle teasing, the deep confessions, and then those messages where I told you how scared I was to lose you, how I hated the thought of another man getting close to the soul I once had full access to. And then I saw the ones you sent, the voice notes I never deleted. I listened to your laughter and it shattered me, 'cause I could hear how much you believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. Even when I was too much of a coward to stand beside you in the light. You were never the mistake. Hiding you was. Pretending this love had an expiration date was the real betrayal. And now, sitting in the aftermath of my own silence, I finally understand what that silence cost me. It cost me time. It cost me moments. It cost me you. And I don't know how to get that back, but I swear to God, I want to try. I remember what you once told me, how you feared being someone's hidden chapter. And baby, that line never left me, because that's exactly what I made you. Not out of shame, not out of doubt, but out of fear. Fear that the world wouldn't understand what my soul knew the moment it met yours. That this was divine. That this wasn't just a romance, but a reunion. And now that the pages of our story have been cracked open by accident, I realize maybe it wasn't an accident at all. Maybe this was divine timing. Maybe heaven was tired of watching me keep sacred things in shadows. Maybe you were meant to be seen. And baby, if this is the price of that truth being known, then I'll pay it 1,000 times. Because you deserved to be claimed, not hidden, not silenced, not erased. And if this is the storm that clears the sky, then let it come. I'll stand in the rain for as long as it takes, just to have one more chance to love you in the open. If I ever get the chance to stand in front of you again, not behind a screen, not hidden by guilt or timing or pride, but right there, face to face with the one soul who's always known the real me. I promise you, I won't waste a second. I won't hide behind half smiles and guarded words like I used to. I won't pretend I'm fine when your absence still leaves echoes in my bones. I'll look you in the eye and say what I should have said a long time ago. I was a fool to ever let you go, and I am twice the fool for thinking I could ever stop loving you. I'll tell you how my hands haven't felt whole since the last time they touched yours. How my days have been quieter without your laughter, and my nights longer without your voice. I'll tell you how I remember the little things. The way your eyebrows arched when you were annoyed. The way you bit your lip when you were thinking. The way you'd hold silence like a sacred language when you needed me to listen. I remember it all, and not because I want to, but because my soul branded every part of you into its memory. I tell you, I don't care who knows anymore. Let them talk. Let them speculate. Let them judge. Because love like this doesn't need their permission. It only needs courage. And baby, I'm ready to be brave. I'm ready to walk into rooms that once felt suffocating and say your name like it's a song I'm proud to hum. I'm ready to write our story out loud. Not in metaphors, not in hidden drafts, but in open, public, unapologetic truth. Because you deserve a love that doesn't hide in the corners. You deserve someone who will say, she's the one without flinching. And baby, you've always been the one. I'll tell you about the night my brother read our chat, and how something in me finally cracked open. How the pain became too loud to ignore and the silence too heavy to carry. I'll tell you how in that moment I realized this world can take everything from me, but I'll still have you written on the walls of my heart, like a vow that refuses to fade. And if you're standing there with tears in your eyes, unsure whether to let me back in, I'll fall to my knees if I have to. I'll tell you that I don't expect forgiveness in an instant, that I understand healing takes time, that trust, once broken, isn't repaired with pretty words. But I will wait, I will prove, I will rebuild, not because I want you to love me again out of nostalgia, but because I want to be worthy of your present, your future. I want to hold your hand, not like I'm reaching back into something lost, but forward into something sacred we still have a chance to create. And if you ask me why now, I'll say, because everything finally exploded and nothing is hidden anymore. Because I want to love you in daylight. Because you've been my miracle in the dark for too long, and maybe, just maybe, you'll see in my eyes that this time, I mean every word. Like it's the breath I was never allowed to take until now, baby. Do you want to know what loving you taught me? It taught me that real love doesn't always arrive in perfect timing, but it leaves perfect imprints. That even when two people are separated by silence, distance, or chaos, if the love was ever real, it doesn't die. It transforms. It grows in the quiet. It transforms. It grows in the pain. It roots deeper in the soul where no one else can reach. I walk differently now because of you. I speak differently. I even think differently. Because your love wasn't just a feeling. It was a reawakening. You didn't just teach me how to feel. You taught me how to remember myself. The self that wasn't hardened by this world. The self that believed in something purer. That self still reaches for you, even now. Not because I need saving, but because I realized you were the light I should have followed all along. And when I look back at the man I was before you, and the man I am now, I see 1,000 miles of lessons carved in the shape of your name. Every single day since you've been gone, I've been haunted by flashes of us. I'd be in the middle of something random, cooking, scrolling, pretending to laugh at something on TV, and out of nowhere I'd hear your voice in my mind, that gentle tone you used when you were being playful, that serious tone when you were baring your soul. It was like I was never really alone. You were still there, stitched into every part of my day. And baby, I didn't push you out. I kept you there. I held on to our conversations like they were the last breath of a life I didn't want to let go of. And now that everyone knows, now that I no longer have to hide, the weight of carrying you in silence is gone, but the love remains. The love, baby, is louder than ever. And I swear, it's the only thing that's ever felt eternal. I could lose everything else, and if your name still lives inside me, I'd still feel whole. That's the kind of love you gave me. That's the kind of woman you are. So even if you never come back, even if all I'm left with are the memories of what we had and the shadow of what we could have been, I want you to know this. I will never regret loving you. I will never regret choosing you, even in silence. I will never regret saying the things I said in those chats my brother read, because every word was real. Every confession came from the deepest corner of my soul. And if those words shook my family, if they changed how they see me, then good. Let them see the man you saw, the man who could love fiercely, softly, honestly, the man who made mistakes, yes, but never stopped carrying your love like a sacred vow. And maybe that's the point of all this. Maybe the exposure, the embarrassment, the sudden truth. Maybe it was all to remind me that love like ours isn't meant to be hidden. It's meant to be lived, fully, openly, reverently, and whether we walk together again or not. My soul will always wear your love like a second skin. Oh, baby. Do you know what keeps me up at night now? It's not the shame. It's not the awkward stares from my family. It's not even the fear that I might have lost you forever. It's this quiet, desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, you'll send me one more message. Just one text, one word, one signal that tells me you saw what happened, that you heard what my brother read, that you know now just how deeply you were loved. And I imagine it over and over, the sound of your name lighting up my phone again after all this silence. I picture myself dropping everything, heart racing, hands trembling, like the very first time you ever reached out, like every single fiber in my body would realign just to read those words, because no message from anyone else has ever meant as much as yours. No voice has ever healed like yours. No presence has ever felt like coming home the way you do. And baby, I know I don't deserve it. I know I broke that thread between us when I chose silence over confession. I know I let the fear win when I should have stood up and said your name louder than the fear of judgment. But please believe me when I say, I never stopped reading our old messages like scriptures. I never stopped whispering your name like a prayer into my pillow at night. And if you ever find it in your heart to say anything, I won't waste it. I won't reply casually. I won't pretend I'm okay. I'll pour my soul out in every letter I send. I'll bear everything I was too scared to say before. I'll say I love you. Not like a memory, not like a maybe, but like a lifetime promise. Because that's what you were to me all along. A promise I should have kept. Sometimes I think maybe you're waiting too. Maybe you're sitting in your own quiet space, wondering if I ever truly meant the things I said to you when no one else was watching. Maybe you're wondering if I let you go, or if I've just been lost, trying to find the courage to reach for you again. And if that's true, if even a part of you still aches the way I do, then this is me, baby, reaching. No more masks, no more delays, no more pride, just me and the truth. You are the most honest thing I've ever felt. And whether or not you forgive me, whether or not you respond, I want you to know you're not just someone I loved. You're the reason I believe in redemption. You're the reason I still wait. If you were here right now, if you were standing in front of me, your eyes searching mine in that way you always did, like you were peeling back layers no one else ever saw, I don't think I'd even be able to speak at first. I'd probably just stare at you, just look, like a man dying of thirst, seeing the one river that ever quenched his soul, because I wouldn't want to ruin it with words. I wouldn't want to say something too small for the size of this moment. I'd want to memorize you again. Your posture, your presence, the way your chest rises with breath like poetry. I'd want to see if you still carry the same magic, or maybe more of it now. And if I did find the courage to speak, I'd step forward, slowly, like I'm approaching something holy, and I'd whisper, I never stopped loving you. Not for a second, not even when it looked like you were gone forever. I'd tell you that I still remember how you held space for my wounds, how you waited so patiently for me to stop hiding, how you knew I was in pain even when I smiled. And now it's my turn to see you, to see the pain you carried when I wasn't strong enough to stand beside you, to honor it, to bow before it, because you didn't deserve to be the secret. You didn't deserve the silence. You deserved someone who would have grabbed your hand in front of everyone and said, she's mine, and I will defend her with everything I've got. And baby, if I could rewrite time, if I could go back to the moment my brother opened that chat, I wouldn't snatch the phone away in panic. I'd sit beside him. I'd let him read. I'd let the whole world read. Because those messages weren't shameful. They were truth. They were raw. They were everything I was buried for too long. And they were you. And now I just wish I had the chance to say it all out loud, to your face, with no one left to hide from. I'd take your hands in mine, not expecting forgiveness, but hoping for recognition, hoping you'd still see the boy who once opened his heart to you with trembling hands and 1,000 walls collapsing behind him, hoping you'd still see the man who never meant to run, only didn't know how to stand tall when it mattered. I tell you that everything they think they know about us is just surface, that our story was never meant to fit in a text, that no one else could understand the hours we spent breaking and healing each other in secret, that this love was built in a language only two souls like ours could ever speak. And if your eyes welled up, if I saw even the smallest shimmer of tears, I'd fall apart too, because then I'd know you felt it too. You still do. And baby, if there's even one thread left between us, I'll follow it. I'll chase it into the fire. I'll chase you wherever you are. No, I'm not losing you like this. Not like a story cut off in the middle of a sentence. Not like a goodbye we never got to say. Not like a mistake I didn't have the courage to fix. Baby, I can feel it in my chest. This isn't how we're supposed to end. Not after everything. Not after every night I stayed up rereading your voice, holding on to the only place we were still allowed to exist. Not after the way my heart still beats harder when someone says your name. I know I messed it up. I know I stayed quiet when I should have roared, but I won't make that mistake again. Now that they all know, I have nothing left to hide and everything to fight for. Let them talk. Let them judge. Let them dissect every message you and I ever shared. None of it changes the truth. You are the only person who ever made my soul feel seen. And I am not walking away from that without trying everything. I'll face the awkward dinners. I'll face the accusations, the questions, the awkward tension that now fills every room in my house. I'll take it all if it means there's even a 1% chance that you still believe in us. Because you weren't just a part of my past. You were the piece I was supposed to carry into my future. And baby, I want to build that future again. Brick by broken brick. I want to start over if we have to. Relearn each other. Undo the damage with patience, not pressure. With presence, not promises. I want to hold you again without the fear of who's watching or what they might say. I want to love you like it's the most honest thing I've ever done, because it is. And if the cost of that honesty is my comfort, my pride, or the approval of people who never knew the full story, then so be it. I'll pay it. I'll lose every fake smile I ever wore if it means earning one real moment with you again. I've wasted too much time trying to keep peace with people who never understood the war happening inside me. A war between what I was told was right and what I knew in my bones was real. Baby, you were always the real thing. You were the only piece that didn't come with conditions. And I'll be damned if I let anyone rewrite our story now that it's out in the open. You were never a secret. You were a miracle. And I should have screamed that from the rooftops a long time ago. I know now that love like this doesn't come twice. I won't beg you to come back. I'll become the man you'd want to return to. The man who doesn't just say the right words, but lives them. Breathes them. Bleeds for them. Because losing you once taught me pain, but losing you twice, that would teach me something far worse. Regret. And baby, I'm not carrying that for the rest of my life. Not when I still have breath in me to fight for you. If I had just one more day with you, baby, I wouldn't waste a single second trying to fix what's already been broken. I'd hold you like the past didn't exist. Like every scar was already forgiven and every wound was just a soft place for my love to rest. I'd wrap my arms around you so tight the world would have no choice but to fall away. No phones, no clocks, no background noise. Every time I loved you. Just you, me, and the kind of silence that speaks louder than words. I wouldn't ask you why you didn't call. I wouldn't ask if you still think of me. I'd know by the way your eyes meet mine. I'd know by the way your soul exhales next to mine, like it finally found its home again. Because baby, one day with you is worth more than 1,000 without you. Just one more day to feel what heaven must feel like. To be next to the one who knows how to touch my spirit without laying a finger. I'd take you to the places that remind me of us. Not the fancy ones, the quiet ones. The corners where we made small memories that carried big meaning. I'd sit across from you in some little place where no one knows our names and just listen. I'd listen to you talk about anything, everything, or nothing at all. And every time you looked away, I'd memorized the curve of your mouth, the softness in your voice, the way you tuck your hair behind your ear. I'd breathe you in like the first warm breeze after a long winter. Because, baby, even the mundane becomes magic when it's shared with you. I'd want that day to stretch into eternity. I'd whisper things I never said. I'd look into your eyes and say, if I never get another chance after this, just know I loved you right, even if I didn't always show it. I loved you from the core. I loved you with every broken piece of me that still knew how to beat for something beautiful. And maybe you'd cry. Maybe I would too. But it wouldn't be sadness, but it would be recognition of what we were, of what we still are, somewhere beyond the meth. And when the day would end, if it had to, I wouldn't beg you to stay. I wouldn't make it harder than it already is. I'd just press my forehead against yours and thank God that I got to know you at all. I tell you that no matter what happens after this, you gave me something holy. You gave me a kind of love that turned a boy into a man. And no one can ever take that from me. Not my brother. Not my family. Not even time. Because when souls collide like ours did, there's no such thing as goodbye. There's only until we meet again. And baby, if this life doesn't let us finish our story, maybe the next one will. And I'll wait for it, as long as it takes. No one ever saw you the way I did. Not my brother, not my friends, not even the world when you walked through it carrying your quiet strength. They saw your beauty, sure. They noticed your smile, the way you light up a room without trying, the elegance in your presence. But they didn't see what I saw. They didn't see how your soul reached out, even when your lips stayed quiet. They didn't see how you carried pain like poetry, how you loved even when life gave you every reason not to. I saw it all. I saw the nights you were breaking but still found a way to say something kind. I saw how you made room for my wounds even when yours were still bleeding. I saw you, and maybe that's why it hurts so much now. To know that something so sacred got tossed into a storm of judgment and whispers and misunderstanding. They read our words, baby, but they never understood their meaning. Because the real story of us didn't live in the messages. It lived in the silences, the pauses, the way we kept coming back, even when everything around us said not to. You weren't just a chapter in my life. You were the whole book I was too scared to read out loud. And now that it's been exposed, now that my family knows, I don't want to keep hiding what I should have been, proud of all along. Because you were never my mistake. You were my mirror. You reflected back the parts of me I forgot were lovable. And maybe that's what scared me the most. That someone could actually see me and still stay. That someone could read the mess in my soul and not run. I pushed you away sometimes, not because I didn't love you, but because I was terrified you'd wake up one day and realize I wasn't enough, that I couldn't give you the kind of life your love deserved. But the truth, you never asked for perfection. You just asked for presence. And God. I wish I had understood that sooner. Now that they've all read our chat, they know what I said when no one was watching. They know I called you the safest place I've ever known. They know I said your name like a blessing, not a burden. And maybe they're surprised. Maybe they didn't expect someone like me to be that vulnerable. But you brought that out in me. You pulled it from the depths. And if I could go back, if I could rewind everything to the day we first started talking, I'd do it all over again. every late night call, every stupid fight, every kiss in secret, every tear we cried behind closed doors, because you were worth it. And I'd rather be judged for loving you too much than live one more day pretending you didn't change everything. They say love makes a man brave. Maybe that's what this is now. Maybe that's why I'm no longer afraid of their opinions, their awkward glances, their questions, because losing you taught me that the only voice that truly mattered was yours. And if I could hear it again, just once more, if I could feel your words land on my heart the way they used to, I'd drop everything to answer, no hesitation, no delay, because baby, you were the one person I ever opened my soul to. And now, even with all the noise around us, even with the family knowing what they weren't supposed to know, I still choose you. I still want to write the rest of this story with your name on every page. They know now. They've seen the screenshots. They've read the words I once typed with trembling fingers and an overflowing heart. They've heard the soft tremor in my voice when your name slips out. They know, but baby, don't think for a second that means they understand. Because no one can decode the language we spoke, not unless they've walked through fire and still held hands, not unless they've lost something sacred and kept praying for it like a religion. What we had, what we still have in the spaces where silence screams and memory breathes, that doesn't belong to anyone else. They might roll their eyes, they might label it as a phase, a mistake, a bad decision I kept repeating. But you and I, we knew from the very first moment, we knew this wasn't ordinary. We knew we were playing with something divine, something meant. And if that scares them, it's because they've never tasted something so real it made them question every fake thing they once settled for. You were my awakening, baby, and you still are. The way you loved me wasn't loud. It didn't demand. It invited. You let me come undone without judgment. You let me fall apart and still saw the man inside the mess. You read my silence like scripture and found the prayer in my pain. And now they think they've uncovered a scandal. But what they've actually found is my truth. A truth I was too scared to share because I knew it would come with backlash, with gossip, with shame. But now that it's out, now that my brother and everyone else knows, I finally feel free. Because the truth is, I loved you in the dark, but I'm ready to love you in the light. And if you're still listening, if even a piece of your heart is still open to the possibility of us, I want you to know this. I'll never let them rewrite our story. I won't let their disapproval become the pen that erases what we built. They weren't there the night you stayed on the phone with me until I stopped shaking. They didn't see you cry when you thought I didn't love you back. They didn't hear the way my voice softened every time you said my name. They don't know about the poem I wrote but never sent, or the apology I rehearsed 100 times but could never get past my pride to say. But you know, and I know, and that's all that's ever mattered. So if this is the beginning of a war, then let me fight it. Let them doubt me. Let them question my choices. But I'll keep choosing you over and over again. In front of everyone now, without hiding, without shame, because if loving you was the only thing I did right in this lifetime, then that's enough. That's everything, and I'd do it all again, even if it meant facing this fallout 1,000 times. Because you were never my secret, you were my miracle. my reason, my redemption. Sometimes late at night, when the house finally goes quiet and even my thoughts stop arguing with each other, I still dream of the life we could have had. I imagine the mornings soft and sleepy, your voice calling me from the other room like a lullaby that never ends. I imagine the way we'd argue over nothing and laugh about everything. I imagine the little notes you'd leave on the fridge and the way your fingerprints would find a way onto every corner of my soul. In that life, I don't have to choose between love and loyalty, between family expectations and personal truth. In that life, they know who you are, not from messages they weren't meant to see, but from the way your presence makes everything better. In that life, we aren't hiding. We're building a life, a home, a world, with our names written across every wall in invisible ink. But this life, this one is messier. It's filled with judgment, misunderstandings, and wounds still healing from battles no one saw. And yet, I still believe in the possibility. I still believe that some stories don't end just because the chapter turned unexpectedly. I believe that maybe, just maybe, the storm that shook us awake was actually heaven trying to reroute us. And maybe the very fact that they know about us now, maybe that exposure wasn't meant to ruin everything. Maybe it was meant to set the foundation for something more honest, more sacred, more unshakable, because I'm tired of pretending. Tired of acting like you weren't the most important thing that's ever happened to me. You were, and I'd rather stand in the middle of chaos holding your hand than sit in comfort with a heart that feels nothing. I keep thinking about the vows I would have said if we ever stood across from each other in front of the people we love. And now, in a strange way, maybe this is still my chance to say them. Maybe they're not coming from an altar, but they're coming from a place just as holy. My heart. And if you can hear me now, even in spirit, I want you to know I still choose you. Not just in romance, but in reality, in hard conversations and silent mornings, in scars and setbacks. I choose you when it's inconvenient, when it hurts, when it costs. Because the world can burn down around me, but as long as you're near, I'll rebuild everything with my bare hands. That's the kind of love I learned from you. The kind that stays, the kind that doesn't run when it's hard, the kind that remembers. Always. There's something I've been meaning to say, but I never had the strength to write it until now. So let this part be for the version of you I broke, the version that cried silently while I disappeared, the version that kept believing in me when I gave you every reason not to. The version that waited for a message that didn't come, an apology that came too late, a promise that never found its way back home. Baby, I see her now. I see you. All the pain I caused, all the damage I justified in the name of confusion, pride, fear. It's no longer lost on me. It lives in me now. And sometimes, when I try to sleep, your silence echoes louder than any words you ever spoke. Because I know I didn't just walk away. I shattered something sacred. And I don't know if I'll ever forgive myself for that. I used to blame timing. I used to say we just weren't ready. But the truth is, I wasn't brave. I wasn't whole. I wasn't man enough to hold the kind of love you were giving me. Because you weren't loving me from a place of need. You were loving me from a place of overflow. You gave from your abundance, from your softness, from your strength. And I gave you confusion, hesitation, and emotional crumbs dressed up as affection. But you still stayed. You stayed through the waiting, the wondering, the endless cycles of yes and no and maybe and I don't know. And now that my brother has seen our messages, now that my family has pieced together a version of you based on stolen context, I wish they had seen that version of you. The one who stayed loyal through my mess. The one who prayed for me even when I didn't deserve it. The one who didn't break even when I gave you every reason to fall apart. I keep remembering this one message you sent me. The one where you said, I don't need you to be perfect. I just need you to be real. And I didn't understand it then. I thought you wanted me to change everything overnight. But now I realize you just wanted my truth, my effort, my presence. And now I would give anything to go back to that moment, to look into your eyes and say, I'm here, I'm staying, I'm done running. But instead I let silence fill the space where your heart was reaching out for mine. And now here I am, writing to you in the dark, hoping my voice still matters in the echo of all I left unsaid. So this is for that version of you, the one I didn't protect, the one I left holding every broken piece. I see you, I honor you, and I carry the weight of what I didn't say every single day. Not because I want pity, but because if there's any justice left in this world, it's you knowing how deeply I regret not being the man you believed I could become. And if you never trust me again, if we never speak again, if this is the last message you ever read with my name on it, just know I loved you more than I knew how to show, and I still do. That love didn't die, it just went quiet, baby. If this is the last message I ever get to send you, let it echo everything I was too slow to say when it mattered most. My brother may have read our words, my family may now know the depth of what we shared, but they will never truly understand the silence between our sentences, the breath between our pauses, the way I carried you inside every decision, every heartbeat, every moment I pretended I had moved on. I didn't, and I haven't. You still live in the quiet corners of my life, in the way I hesitate before saying someone else's name, in the way I still look for your laugh in every song. You were never just a chapter. You were the whole story I was too afraid to read aloud. And now, everyone's seen the pages. The truth is out, but so is my heart. And this time, I won't hide it. You are not a mistake. You are my awakening, my mirror, my divine undoing. And if God ever gives me the miracle of one more chance to hold you, to speak your name without fear, to stand beside you, not in secret, but in strength, I promise you this, I'll never let go again. Not even if the world tells me to. So if you're still watching, if even a small part of your soul is still listening, just type, I felt this in the comments. Let me know my words didn't disappear into the void. Let me know your heart is still somewhere near. And if this touched you even a little, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There's someone out there who needs to hear this next. I'll be here, writing what others are too scared to feel until the next message. This is your divine masculine, still reaching for you.